What's going on, family? This is your host, John, a.k.a. J. David, and you are tuned into another episode of the Cavalier Convos podcast. I got a few of my friends here with me. We got Dwayne in the building. What's good, brother?
What's good? What's good?
We got Reggie. What's good, my man?
Hope everybody's doing well. What's happening?
And we got Kenny here. What's good?
Present.
All right, dope, man. So it is November the 8th. What is it, day after the election? It's
the week
after the election.
All the days are running.
Well,
into
the day after the news media has announced
A
projected winner. A lot of people don't notice the Electoral College does not vote until December, which is crazy. This is like a lot of stuff people don't know. But yeah, we're gonna get into a few things in regards to like where do black people go from here? Because like I have like different opinions on it. You know, obviously my opinions are a lot different than the average black person's opinions, but it's important that we do discuss these things because regardless of how you feel about, you know, the results or what's coming next, like, I mean, it's important to understand like there's a lot to kind of unpack in this, and it's not just as simple as like, all right, you know, this isn't 1864, and even during the Emancipation Proclamation, like, you know, I remember my dad telling, I think it was Juneteenth of this year, right? And my dad says, you know, could you imagine how happy the slaves were, you know, when they were freed? And I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think they were happy. I think a lot of them were scared because what happens when you get freed, though, but you have no food, you have no shelter, you have no clothing, you have no means to get food once you're freed. You have no weapons. So you're out in a wilderness called America, where you've been in chains and shackles your entire life and you were freed. I don't think as many black people were as celebratory in that instant as we like to romanticize it to be. So I guess the question, and you know, we go around the room and say, like, where do black people, not America, where do black people go from here now that we have a new president in office?
I think you make a pretty good comparison to how slaves may have felt when they were freed. Although
I don't want to diminish. I'm not diminishing slavery to this, but there's a
legitimate comparison. But I look at it like this. Then I'm pretty sure a majority of the slaves that were freed, who at least knew that they were freed, probably thought that whatever's next is not as bad as what they've been dealing with. And I think the same sentiment can be said now. Like I know for a fact there were a lot of people who voted just to make sure that Trump wasn't president again. You know what I mean? So it's like whatever we get next, I'm not really interested in all the details and all this other stuff. I just know that it won't be as bad as what we just dealt with for the past 4 years. And it's sad that that's how bad stuff was. But as far as black people, I think next for us is making sure that we are still continuously heard, because every time we get somebody we think that has our back, we get complacent. So like we end up just shutting the hell up for the most part and let things play out the way that they're going to play out, because we know that at least some of the things that we don't have to talk about are probably going to get done. But that's not it. So like we still have to be very outspoken about what we need. And this is when, in terms of a federal election, is when our vote has power. Even more power, because now we've got time to evaluate what kind of leader you are. And if you want to sit in this seat for 4 more years, then everything that we've just dealt with in terms of the past 4 years of you being in leadership, now we have a lot to go on now. Now it's not just lip service. It's lip service when you get ready to sit down for the first time. That's all lip service. I mean, you may have some kind of record in a different position or whatever, but as president or vice president or anybody who's going to be in the cabinet, or for any of our elected officials as far as local officials, state officials and whatnot, if you ain't been sitting down there before, all you're doing is talking. You haven't even had a chance to do anything yet. Now you do.
I think I like a lot of that. I think it's actually in some ways not as difficult to figure out as I think some people may feel like it is. I think the first step is to remain aggressively patient. And what I mean by that is you stay patient because you know that everything that is being pushed for it's not going to happen in 30 seconds. We've talked about that before right here on Cavalier Convos. Whatever we want to happen legislatively, right, through all of the process, nothing happens quick. We know that. We know that. That's why we have to remain patient. But the aggressive aspect of it, aggressively patient, I'm going to keep saying that, is because you have to continue to do two things. Push the message, but stay on message. I think that's the biggest thing. You cannot change the message because there is something that you feel, has, whether you want to say it's improved, changed, whatever. Now that there's a new president, that doesn't mean your message should change. Your message needs to remain focused on what you think we, however you want to phrase it, think the big issues are, and continue to push those to all levels that can help push forth legislation and other things, programs in the community, all those things. You have to continue to aggressively push those people to implement things to help the advancement process. But again, that comes with a little bit of patience because, again, nothing is going to, and we know this, and this is not hard to figure out, but nothing is going to happen in 10 minutes. Just because the president changes, the first thing we have to remember is, number one, it's a projected winner at this point, and number two, on top of that, the inauguration ain't for another couple of months. So the reality is, if you think something finna change by Christmas Day or Thanksgiving Day, that ain't real because the process takes longer than that. So you have to remain patient, but you have to remain steadfast and aggressive in your push in the movement that towards the things that you feel are better for, that we feel are better for our community, the black community. That's the first thing I would say.
Well, I look at it like this, I guess. Even though, like you say, projected president, I look at it like new president or not, we still have to look at the lower sides of everything, like the local government, the House, the Senate. Mm-hmm. Those are, to me, are the most important things when it comes to politics, because they are the ones that really actually do the laws. Yep. They the one that put out the stimulus checks. President, yes, he does sign off on everything. Yes, he's the last line of defense. He put things out the Senate could vote on and everything. But I look at it like this. When you said something about you don't think they were happy, slaves, I feel like a lot of them were happy due to the fact, like Kenny said, some of them are not going through what they were going through before. I look at it like this as black folks, we are survivors. We learn how to survive through a lot of situations. We done went through slavery. We went through segregation. We done went through all kinds of things. We're still going through racial injustice right now. So I feel like we are survivors. So I feel like we have the ability to survive. Like Reggie was saying, like, we got to stay to the point. We can't change it because we have a new president, because we got a new vice president. We can't just change and say, oh, we good. We are not good. Because after 4 years, we don't know who's going to be the president or who's going to be the vice president. So we have to keep going. So this don't stop because we have one person that's been projected to be a new president, new vice president. We have to keep going. We have to keep moving forward. We can't get complacent. Yeah. That's one thing I hate to say it, we do get complacent. Yep. I get complacent. Everybody get complacent sometimes. In a lot of situations, we all get complacent. It don't mean in politics, it's just in life in general. We get complacent about a lot of things, but we don't keep pushing forward. So we have to keep pushing forward regardless of who's in office or who's going to speak for us. So I look at it like we have to stay on the path. Strictly like Reggie just pointed out, we got to stay on the path. We can't just assume that something's going to change overnight. It's not going to change in December. It's not really going to change in the first part of the year. Once he do take office, because the first 30 days, he's going to put some things out, but it's going to take some time for a lot of things to change. One, I know he's going to mostly dealing with this COVID situation. This is the biggest issue right now because the numbers are still going up. So we know we just got to be patient. Just be patient and wait and stay to the path and not get complacent.
To go off something that to go off actually a lot of what both of you said in regards to staying on point, in regards to making sure we're talking to the right people, because we do that all the time. We think the president's going to do it, so we don't vote when it comes up. But I think we need to be extremely specific about what it is that we need and what it is that we want, and in being specific, making sure that we're still being as broadly effective as possible, meaning that you're not trying to bring up an issue that, just your family is the one that's really dealing with it. It would have to be issues that we know that a majority of us are dealing with, or at least a majority of people in a given geographic area. Because some people they'll be specific, but they'll be specific
personal.
Yeah, to them. Like, no one's going through what you're going through. This is kind of a hard thing to bring up. Now, we can understand if it's something that's going to become a larger problem. But in the meantime, there's a lot that we already need to get done that hasn't been done. And I don't know. I feel like we escape being specific a lot. So it's like we want to stay on message and we want to talk to the right people, but then we don't tell them the right things.
Well, no, that's a great point, because and that goes back to, and we talked about this, right? Sitting here, on this particular show, right? We talked about, what was the Black Lives Matter movement message, and how at times it was very divided, how at times it had different focuses, right? And so that goes back to that point. Like, you have to stay on message, a consistent message, and continue to push that narrative, because if you get off track, it makes it a lot easier if everything is splintered. I mean, we do it all the time in our regular lives. If three people that you're supposed to be dealing with are coming at you from three different angles, you're like, y'all go figure that out and come talk to me when y'all get your act together. I don't have time for that. It's the same concept that you're going to have to deal with lawmakers and politicians, if you will. I try to use the term lawmaker because I think politician that's a whole different conversation. But that's what you have to do with lawmakers. You have to push something consistent so that they get that thing done. If you keep going at them in different directions, it can just get caught up in bureaucracy and nothing gets done. And that's why it's important to keep to that message.
Go ahead.
Now, the thing with this election, and the thing that black people need to understand, is that you have no friends. All right, you already know Trump was not your friend. Joe Biden is not your friend. Kamala Harris is not your friend. Not when you're dealing with power, when you're dealing with structures, a system. When you're dealing with because what black people want is empowerment. So when you're dealing with empowerment, there are no friends. There's only allies. There's only enemies. There's only associates. There's only partners. Joe Biden is not your friend. You don't treat Joe Biden with any less accountability that you hold to Donald Trump or Bill Clinton or George Bush or Obama or anybody else. So what you do for one, you have to do for the other. So in the point of staying on message, the first thing is, black people, what is your agenda? What do you want? And if you include any other group in your agenda, it's not a black agenda anymore. When minute it turns into people of color, minorities, I think people understand, like, do people understand that just in this election, white people were split 50-50? Okay, and like I said, y'all know my political stance. I'm a political atheist. I side with who's going to give me the most stuff. I don't care about red, blue, conservative, liberal. I care about who's going to give me the most stuff. Now, white people were split 50-50. The white LGBT community voted for Trump in larger numbers. The Latino community voted for Trump in larger numbers. So who are your friends and who are your allies, black people? Nobody. And the sooner black people get that understanding is that stop trying to play superhero for America. Because the thing is that black people save this. The headlines, you see the headlines. Black people save democracy. Black people do this. Black people did this in this election. Black people saved America during this American Revolutionary War. Civil War, black people saved America. World War One, World War II. Who went to Vietnam to fight? Black people. And what we're supposed to keep saving America until when? Till what? Till it's for and when is America repay black people for all this saving, these theatrics and heroics? So let's think about it. What do black people need? What do black people not what we're asking for? We're not asking. Stop the asking. Leave the asking alone. We've asked a long time. What are black people demanding? And it should be equity, not education, not equal rights, not social reform, equity. Because everybody else has equity in this country. Who has the lowest wealth? Who has the lowest? Who's the largest unemployment? Who's got the least amount of home ownership? Who's got the least amount of businesses? Whose wealth is going to be projected to zero by 2050? Black people. So it's not a handout. It's not a handout. It's what's owed. It's a blood debt for centuries and centuries of saving America.
Let me ask you something. You stayed in equity, they owe us and everything, right? I understand we've been going through this fight for a long time. Everybody keeps saying they owe us, they owe us. Actually, they owe our ancestors. They the one that need to be owed.
What is the residual? What is the residual?
They are the ones that lay down they put everything on their backs.
Dwayne, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. When a debt is owed to a family member and that family passed away, does the person who owes the debt go away? Or does that person need to pay the family the money?
It all depends on the situation. Because all debt is not going to the family.
No. So if I owe you money.
Talking about the principle.
If I owe you money, right?
Yeah.
I owe you $100,000.
Okay.
Okay. And you pass away, God forbid.
Yeah.
Do I just say to Connor, I said, all right, man, I'm sorry what happened to your dad, and I just walked the other way?
9 times 10, that's the way. That's life. Because guess what? You know why? I'm gonna tell you this. Working in the bank.
No. We talking about this
to you. I'm gonna explain it to you. Because due to the fact that person name, your family name is not on certain things. Because what we don't do, we don't put our other family names on things. So when
Dwayne, that's completely something separate, bro.
I'm trying to go to the explain. I'm trying to explain to you what's going on. When we always say somebody's owed for something that happened to somebody in the past. I understand that. We always say, hey, we want our 40 acres in the mural. Now, we've been asking for this for years. Now, all of us, a lot of people, blacks, we want handouts. We not even trying to earn nothing.
No. A debt is owed.
What debt is owed to you?
What debt is owed to me?
Yes, please.
What are you talking about? Black people have built this country. What are you talking about?
But what debt is owed to you?
What debt is owed to me?
Yes.
Equity. Black people deserve equity in this country the same way that they repaired every other country that they went to war with. They went to war with black people for 500 years. Black people owe.
When you talk about
equity.
war, I've been to war, so you can't say nothing about black folks being at war because I've been to war.
No. I'm saying this country has been at war with black people. Has been fighting black people since the inception of this country.
I get what you're saying.
So when they bombed Japan, they did a Marshall Plan. They repaired Japan. Why can't they repair Black America after all the damage they've done to Black America?
I look at it like this.
No. Let's stay on the question.
I'm gonna look at it like this. We keep asking for this, but we not doing nothing to get it. We won't. It's a handout. You asking for a handout.
How is it a handout if it's owed?
But see, everybody keeps saying, this is what our folks did. This is what everybody did. I understand that because I have an aunt that marched, that got everybody rights to vote. And that's why I feel like it's obligated for me to go vote because she stood and got pissed on and everything else thrown at her for certain things. So
let's bring it to what should you get in exchange for your vote?
No, I'm going to go backwards for a second because you said equity. I know what the word means. I know. So follow me on this. But when you say equity, define it in your words.
The land, the businesses, the exports, everything that white people capitalize on in this country, all the businesses that were started and built on slave labor. Black people deserve, if black people are 13% of the population, 30% of the contracts that go to Charlotte building all this crap around here with all these black people living here, 30% of black people should get 30% of those contracts. That's not fair. That's not equality. Is that a handout? Because you also have to look at other parts of this country. If you go to the West Coast in the Pacific West, and you look at what they've done for the Asian community on the West Coast, you think those people just worked hard and all of a sudden they got whole cities of Chinatown and Vietnamese town and Filipino towns just off of the strength of they're just that smarter than us or better than us? They got help. They got help by this country after the Vietnam War. This is documented. Is that a handout? Is that a handout? When they brought all the Cubans over here, the defected Cubans, you got Little Havana. You think that's just an accident?
I just wanted you to lay it out for the people listening at home exactly what you meant by equity.
There's a law there's laws in California that businesses have to have a certain amount of women on their board in order to operate.
Yep.
Is that a handout? This country is built on handouts. This country was literally built on handouts. Like, people came over here from over the water, got free acres of land. Martin Luther King even talked about it. He talked about, I could play out a clip when he talked about you telling people to pull themselves up by the bootstrap, but at the same time, America gave acres, hundreds of acres of land to white farmers. Is that a handout for them too? So you can't. So if it's a handout for black people, it got to be a handout for white people too. We gave black people gave America the biggest handout in the history of humankind. What you talking about?
All right, so check this out. So check this out, and this will allow people to be specific, because we'll talk about what black people are owed in a very general sense. But here's the thing. So, number one, the indigenous people of this country had all this land stolen from them. And as much as America has done is basically to say, here's a little bit of it back and just don't worry about our government. Watching what they've done just there, saying that we're owed, I mean, we can say that all day long. What can we do to actually get repaid? Which begs to literally another question. And just in terms of what our value is right now. And pretty much in every sense of the word, we're not that valuable. There are very temporary things that people will consider making us valuable. We can talk about in an election, and even that's skewed. Because if you talk about a federal election, it doesn't. 100% of the people 13% of this population, 100% of black people could vote for a candidate that loses. Plain and simple. Your local elections is different. There are plenty of areas where there are predominantly black people. So in those areas, people have certain kind of power, but still it's temporary because it only matters when it comes to election time, when people start pandering. So we are owed. We're not the only ones owed, but we are damn sure owed.
And owed the most.
The question is, and I won't disagree with that because of what we've done. The indigenous people of this country, of this land, didn't get an opportunity to do anything. They got killed off, basically. He said, we'll annihilate you and we'll steal them in order to build this land we stole.
But even in that sense, right, and like this is the thing that happens. We get to talking about us, and then once we get to talking about us, we divert to talking about, it's just not, like we just love to do that. We get to talking about other people. The Native American constituency got to figure out they own stuff on their own. Our job as black people is to fight for what is ours and ours first, because we can't we can't save America.
So none of that matters unless we actually have leverage, and we don't.
It's a lack of organization, and it's a lack of just straight up like gall. Like black people don't have. We have too many black people that are just okay with surviving.
Okay, all right. No one's going to argue. No one's going to argue against that. But here's the thing: like the reality is that this whole 13% of this population could leave tomorrow in a mass exodus, and this country would be okay. And that's what I'm saying. We don't have leverage. We can talk about what we're owed. We can be specific about what we want. There's only so many things that we can even hang over anybody's head, and typically that's temporary. We've talked about it before. There isn't anything that we provide, that we've started, or that we own, or anything that someone in this country cannot do without. We don't have that here. And at the end of the day, if the black population of this country left, all the thing the country would do is just pivot.
I got a objection to that. I think this country can't function without racism.
I won't argue
against black people. I think this country would crumble if black people weren't here to be abused and taken advantage of.
No, it would just be somebody else.
That's what I think too.
No,
it would
not
find
when-
someone else.
He'll find somebody else.
I think
When-
they'll find somebody else. I'm sorry.
There's not another ethnic group that is as large as the black population that's actually in this country.
It doesn't have to be.
Well, that's
Right.
not
They're
true.
still going to find.
They'll find somebody else.
They'll pivot.
I mean,
anyway.
still, that's not even true though.
That's accurate as well.
Like, no, there are way more Hispanic people here.
No,
No, there
That's-
isn't. No, not than us.
Yeah, there's way more.
Hispanic people here?
Well,
you know how many Hispanic? First of all,
no.
you have to
If you
understand.
say Latinos, then you could go.
You have to
it's a
understand
population
how
is
many
lot bigger.
Hispanic people classify as white. So it depends on what you're talking about. Because you're saying Latinos. Yes. Look at Florida. That's a prime example.
No, I'm not even talking about in areas. Just in general, no, we're not.
We have a larger
like-
population than the Latino population. Yes.
When you say Latino,
I'm talking about anybody from the
Hispanic countries.
Countries, yes.
do you realize they make up 32% of this population of this country?
But you have to understand that a large majority of them are white.
So
If they-
what you're saying is that when they check a box,
They check as
they're not even they're doing non-Hispanic. Period.
they're either doing
Because you
Hispanic
gotta understand they have black
or
and
white.
Have white. They have black and white and Hispanic.
No, they have
So
Latino
what I'm asking,
on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
they
What I'm
have
asking, are you
Latinos.
saying that they're straight up doing non-Hispanic?
They will check Hispanic because of the benefits, but when they interact, once again,
You're just talking about power, like just
like, and that's what the system is based
I
off.
mean-
Anyway, it's a color thing. It's not because a lot of Hispanic people that if
So
you go to
wanna
Florida,
talk about disunity. Here, the fact is way more of them than there are the rest. If you want to talk about disunity,
Yeah,
to separate
but-
them, you talk about the same disunity that we have. To
Ted
separate
Cruz.
us.
Ted Cruz is a Hispanic man or is a white man?
I mean, his last name is mad
Is-
Hispanic.
of course,
to be honest, I
yes,
don't even,
but
I
he's
don't know.
white. He's a white
No,
dude.
I don't know.
Wait, he's
I don't
a
know
white-
shit about Ted Cruz besides his money.
He's a white man who happens to come from Spanish or Spain. Are they Spanish?
Yeah,
What do they look like?
all kinds of shit.
Are they Caucasians?
Some good bit.
The Europeans, man.
A lot of
But let
them.
me tell you,
A lot of them.
I'm gonna tell you this.
So you're talking about color versus
Color.
Yeah,
You're
you
talking about the
color
color,
of the
not
skin.
ethnicity. But that's
The
a
ethnic-
different.
yeah.
different.
That's what I'm talking about because like people like I'll give you an example. People are so shocked that Florida like why are all these Latinos voting for Trump? Y'all don't understand it
If that's the case,
because they
then-
think they're white.
if that's the case, though, 13% is not black people from America.
You're right. Exactly.
So that number is
There's
different as
a
well.
very small like this percentage of black people that imported versus black people that actually are from here is very small compared to the actual number that actually is from like American black people.
Right, but
so
I'm saying that
13% is literally all encompassing.
Yeah, but you believe there's only 40 million black people in this country?
That's easy to believe, to be honest.
Only 40 million?
Yeah, it's easy to believe because of where I don't even want to say it like this, but it's like because of where they put us. You can go very large distances where there are no black people that live in any of that area that you just travel.
No, I agree. No, the majority, yes, the majority is white. But what I'm saying is that like we have the second largest population if you just go by race, like color.
No, if you're talking about the color of a skin,
yes,
that's a totally different story. You can't.
Yeah, but you're talking. But do you understand what I'm saying?
I get
You
what
guys
you're trying to say, but
they don't view themselves as people of color like we view them as people of color.
So you're also excluding black Hispanics. You're basically talking about the ones that don't say they're white or black. They're just Hispanic.
Which ones? You talking about the ones from DR and like
You got some Dominicans?
yeah,
but that's once again that's a small number of
Yeah,
the
but-
ones that's a small number. I'm talking about the Cubans, Venezuelans, them Puerto Ricans, them white, the people who speak Spanish who got straight hair and blue eyes, man.
I mean, they're Hispanic. They're Hispanic.
I don't have
No,
straight
bro.
hair.
Because you understand that there's racism in those places too as well, just the same way. Color, like it's the same kind of thing, and they come here with those same kind of attitudes and mentalities, and they go and they blend in with the
Okay. So, but we're not talking about.
So, but what I'm saying is that like we are like still our numbers compared to majority of the Latinos are higher than the Latinos.
I just don't want us to be talking about like a subsection. And that's what it sounds like.
No,
we're talking
but
about.
it's the
like
truth.
Black people is like not really a subsection. It's like black people is just.
but
like,
it's the
but then everything else though.
But it's the reality though. It's a reality. Like there is a racist. I have been to Hispanic, Latino speaking country. My family is from Panama, and there is racism up and down Panama because you have very white. Whites?
No one's disputing that.
No, but that's what we're talking about here because like you're saying like, yo, well, there's a lot of Latinos. Yeah, but you have to understand how their mentality is. They're not thinking like how we think about them as people of color. They're not thinking about themselves as, oh yeah, like minorities, like, oh yeah, black people. No, they look at white people and those are our people. That's how they think because in reality, they are their people.
Okay. And I do think we've been talking about this part too long, but it still sounds like what you're talking about in terms of us being this. It sounds like you're talking about like like-minded people or something like that.
In regards to what?
So in terms of these Hispanics, there are this subsection that basically thinks they're white. There's a smaller subsection that thinks they're black, and then everything in the middle makes under 13% of the population. When I don't really think we can talk about that. Like,
But it's the truth though because a black person, I'm black, but I have family with Hispanic origin.
Right.
And they're black.
Right.
They're not Hispanic. They're not Spanish people. They're not Tajinos. They're not Caucasians either.
But their national origin is Hispanic.
But
right?
but once again, like you're talking about oppressing. We're talking about the subject of oppressing, and you're saying that that they'll find another group.
I'm only talking about not even just political power, just in terms of it, regardless of who thinks what they think and how they think or whatever, just in general. Black people ethnically, we're at this point, we are damn near fourth.
Fourth in regards to what though?
And fourth in terms of the ethnic population in this country.
So who's second?
No, second is straight up the Latino
And
population.
then who's third?
Third is next is Asians.
There's not more Asians in this country.
There are so
there's not more Asians in this country than black people. No,
so you realize
they're on the coast. Majority of them are on the East Coast and on the West Coast.
you would be surprised at how many of them live in rural America. Like it is.
No, but there's a very but there's a small
backwards.
there's probably a few families compared to the rest of. Yeah, like of course there's gonna be a few Chinese restaurants everywhere in America. There are.
That was low key racist.
It's not racist. It's the truth. I've traveled. I've been in.
Chinese people opening a Chinese
But you
restaurant
talking
in the
about like
country.
this whole like enclaves of Asian Americans running in rural parts of America? No, they're in primarily New York. They're probably Texas, Florida, Atlanta,
Now,
or
let me tell you. Can you explain this?
Or West
You
Coast.
have a lot of. There's a lot of Asians here. There's a lot of Latinos.
There's not more than black people.
Let me tell you this.
We're still talking about the
a
whole
lot of them
continent.
are
What's
not,
the numbers?
A lot of them are not legally eligible to vote, or they're not citizens.
Correct.
So we have a lot here. So that's one thing we keep forgetting, that the numbers, we count the numbers, but you got to realize a lot of them are like legal aliens, or they're not citizens of the U.S. They just have a Visa card. So we have
by the
a
way, I hate
that's
that
So
term,
the
legal
Asian
alien.
American
That just sounds
population,
so bad.
the Asian
Legal
American
alien.
population as of 2018 is between 5.4 and 6.5% of the U.S. population.
That was as of when?
2018. And there's not any. I mean, there's probably more now, probably not by a bunch. And there's more, but there's still more black people.
What's
That's
the
half of the black.
What was the percentage that number spit out for black people? What?
At least
give me
13.
Give me the whole list.
just do the list. It's just end the
Yeah,
discussion
I
so
mean-
we can stop. Because you got to understand, it's a lot of
Asian
people
alone
that consider
5.9
Hispanics, but everybody think they are white.
black
and they're
alone.
not really-
So this
they're
isn't
not
all
white.
encompassing.
Nah.
They don't consider themselves.
black
No,
white.
not all of them, but
Yeah.
a good percentage of them do consider themselves as white. A good percentage of them. Like if you go to it depends on where they're from. A Mexican obviously doesn't feel that way. Maybe some do because there are lighter Mexicans, and then there's darker Mexicans.
So why is this on here twice? So white alone.
Like was it 50 or 60? What is
Oh
it?
no, 76.3.
Yeah, exactly.
Black alone 13.4. Hispanic or Latino 18.5. Where was the one I wanted to go to next? Okay, Asian alone 5.9.
So basically, we third.
Yeah.
Instead of fourth, we third.
Right.
Yeah, but
So
I
we
would say
not-
our issue is that we've been stagnant for more than 80 years.
But also like
At least 80. At least 80. We've
regardless
been
of the
saying it.
situation,
At least.
regardless of because when they're talking about voting, right? We're talking about voting blocks. They're Latino, like I said before, Latinos are split down the middle because many of them identify more with conservative values. Asians, because of their culture, identify more with conservative values. Jews, Muslims, all the Arab, they all the main and then white people are always split 50-50 down the middle.
Well, but I think something in what you said there is very, very interesting. You mentioned the conservative values. Those are also generally populations that are very much more, I'll say it this way, very much more outward with their religious beliefs,
Yes.
which is where the conservatism comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
Because for them, everything, and I don't have a problem with this, centers around their God, if
Yes.
you will.
Yes, so
and
that's how
that's how they vote.
That's how they align themselves with, that's if they vote.
But think about it like this,
Because-
though. That conservatism comes especially when you're talking about immigrants. That conservatism comes from cultures that are ancient. They've been this way forever,
Yeah.
like literally forever.
Well, and you're also talking about large populations of people that, to the point of that culture, that not only is
Their
that what's
culture is
ingrained in them,
centered. It's
but
centered around.
they're centered in their culture, and they believe and trust in the culture and the values that have been essentially, for lack of a better term, built within them their entire lives. And so, to that point, it gives them a central focus, right? Back to what I was saying earlier, aggressive, right? But patient. It gives them a central focus, right? Because you got to stay on message. It gives them a central focus to what they want consistently.
Exactly.
And that's what they follow.
And that's our problem. Because everybody's got, like I said in the last episode, what I say, everybody's got another agenda. What matters more to you than being black? Is feminism more important? Is the globe the earth frying because of we're being the ozone layers being depleted? Like these are not issues that actually other groups even are like. Aside from white people, they're the ones mainly talking about like you don't see a bunch of Asian people running around. Hey, we got to protect the ozone layer because in their cultures they don't destroy the planet like white people do. I'm just saying, like not saying that white people destroy the planet, but like because of the building of factories and capitalism and just going around, like a lot of the problems in regards to the environment come from a lot of the Western countries. That's just a fact, right? So a lot of these issues, right? Because I always ask people, I said like, all right, well, if you're a black person, what are your core beliefs and when it comes to black people? Because then your political strategy or your ideology should coincide with what your voting habits are. It should coincide with what you advocate for from the politicians that you put in the office. So I always ask people, and when I say equity, like there's nothing. Why is there a problem with black people asking for equity, but literally every other community that comes to this country comes here specifically to get equity? Like, the idea that people came to America for religious freedom, that is the biggest lie that's been written in all the history books. You think they came here and hopped across a boat just to go and just worship and pray? They saw some land. They saw a population they could take advantage of. They saw all that was here. They saw the land. They saw the minerals, resources, everything that they could take advantage of, and they came and they took it. They didn't come here to pray. Them people didn't come here to pray. They came here to get equity. They came here to get a piece of the pie, the American dream. You hear it talked about all the time when people come to this country, right? They come here. They want to come here. They want to build something for their family. They send money back home because this the land of opportunity. Now, not to say that black people just sit on their hands and wait for the government to give them something, because at the same time, we can multitask. We could build businesses. We could build infrastructure for ourselves and build things for ourselves. But at the same time, if we're going to put people in the office, we need to demand that something happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think that's fair. You ask me for my vote, I want something in return.
But okay, but let's keep it real though. Whether you want to think about it personally or as black people or whatever, what do we have tangibly that white people just can't take away? Tangibly.
You're saying, what do we have?
Just in general. It doesn't matter if you're speaking personally. It doesn't matter if you're speaking about black people in general or whatever.
But what does any other group have?
Well, you got to understand, part of the reason why so many different groups, whether they were here a long time or whether they came here, the reason that they got so much, the reason that they received anything is because of perceived value.
So what was the perceived value for bringing the Japanese over here after World War II, after U.S. bombed them?
Let's say economics.
What was the value? What was the perceived value? Because
the perceived value for them is the country that they're connected to.
So we as black people
Trade.
are connected to
Trade.
are connected to one of the biggest, most minerally rich continents in the planet.
Doesn't matter. We didn't immigrate here.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. We didn't immigrate here.
Exactly.
We don't have that.
But that's the thing. Like but this is the thing I'm saying. We were taken and brought here against our will.
Yeah, and to this day, still they have the relations that they have.
Yeah, no.
We are omitted.
So, if that's the case, right? If the case is that, well, we don't have anything to offer, so why are we even participating in this wicked system to begin with?
Complacency.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Complacency.
I can get with that.
Motherfucker, we get comfortable. You can even just break it down on a small scale. You can live somewhere, and because it's not really that hard to raise your kids on the income that you're making, in a lot of cases, especially for black people, you won't even think beyond that. It's like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. So I won't leave South Carolina or something like that. You know what I mean? And we do that all the time. Here's the issue is that they know we'll do that.
I got a question, and I want you to answer this. How do you hold a politician accountable after they've gotten to office?
That's the best time to hold them accountable.
But how do you do it?
Don't vote for them.
While they're in office. While they're in office,
you have to be consistent about pushing for your agendas and force them to act on the thing. Here's the reality. Here's the reality.
You hit them in the pockets.
You hit them in. That's the ultimate way. And another, the reality of the situation is this: there is not one politician, not one. I don't care what level. There is not one politician that any of us can walk up to, or 50 of us, or 1 million of us can walk up to at one time and tell them, I want this right now, and they can stroke a pen within 5 seconds and it's done. There's not one on. It doesn't work like that. That's why I said you have to be aggressively patient.
And so
you have to aggressively push them consistently.
The issue is black people are bad at fundraising, so we don't collectively put our dollars together to do anything unless it involves
we just don't want to help each other out.
But that's what I'm.
It's not saying fundraising.
No, but it's not fundraising. It's what I'm
you,
saying is the communal aspect of organizing.
We don't want to help each other out. We don't want to see nobody succeed our own kind. We rather help somebody else out. We rather go spend money at this restaurant than this black restaurant. We do things that way. And so we always ask, like you say, we want equity, but how many of us going to use it correctly?
Yeah, there's that. And I've always said this, like, and you know, to simplify it, and I kind of say this jokingly, but I mean this very much so. Oftentimes when we go into an establishment that is owned by somebody that looks like us, what do?
Scrutinize the hell out of them.
Scrutinize, discount.
Or can I get a hookup?
Or ask for
right.
a hookup.
But I say this all the time. Why would I walk into a black-owned insert business name here and say, hey, let me pay less than everybody else?
Then I go down here.
But then I'm going to go down the street that is not black-owned, and I ain't going to even ask the question.
I can tell you why. That's an easy one.
I know why. It's a rhetorical question. But my point is,
poor self-image.
My point is, when you do that, at the end of the day, all of us sitting in this room have been around business at some point in our lives and or owned our own business or concept of a business, right? So when you ask me to pay less, you are changing the value
of me,
of my product, service, or me. You're asking me to change the value for you.
You downgrading me.
You're downgrading me.
Yeah.
And we as people, black people specifically, have to be better about understanding, damn it, I got to keep my lights on too. This is priced this way because I got to keep my lights on and I got to keep the fight right too.
Fuck all that. It's priced this way because
it's
this is how
priced
much
that
it's
way.
Worth.
That's right. Absolutely correct. And I think, you talked about perceived value earlier.
Black people are getting better with that, though. Black people are getting better with that.
I'm not saying they're not.
They're getting better a little bit. It's the thing is that and this is the thing, we have to be honest, like, when it comes to our community. And these are conversations we have with our community. We don't freaking, like, say these things out loud in front of other groups and stuff like that. But the truth is, like, we have to be honest with, there is, like, going to be a segment of the black population who just don't get it. And, you know what I mean, that's the thing, like, even when I had mentioned the idea of, like, us going, uptown or whatever and donating to the homeless is because, like, meanwhile, like, we got black people, hanging, at the edge of their seats, screwed, eyes glued to the television watching CNN all week. Meanwhile, we got, families who, in our community, mostly people who look like us, who are living in tents uptown, Sam. This is the reality. Like, so, like, community organizing, and that's the thing, like, how do you hold a politician accountable? Well, first, like, you have to be organized. Like, but the problem is black people don't want to be bothered with a lot of this stuff, man. Like, we don't want to be bothered with, getting together and having meetings and really laying out, like, an agenda to the mayor or to the police chief or whatever, how we want, things to be handled in our community. We don't want to, take the time to, start a gun club or teach self-defense and do all these different things in our community. Man, I go back to my neighborhood in New York. The Arabs run everything in my neighborhood. They got stores. It looks crazy now. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? They literally own a whole legitimate street where I live. And, like, like New York blocks. They own like 2 or 3 blocks lined up. And I'm like, and a lot of them, they don't live in the neighborhood. They don't even live in the neighborhood, but they own everything in it. They're buying everything up. So, like, things like that is just like, and then also something I did notice, right? Watching videos of was it the celebrations for, the win for Joe Biden. And I'm looking, I see videos from, what's it called? Brooklyn, Harlem, where else is the other places? Philadelphia. And I'm looking around, I'm like, these are black cities, and I'm like, there ain't nothing but white people out here. Mm-hmm. And, those white people live there. And how did they get there? Gentrification. Mm-hmm. So while, right, and this is the thing, like, black people, while you guys are celebrating, slowly you are you're turning up. And this is not an attack or a slight towards any people from any other countries or ethnicities or backgrounds, but you're being gentrified out your neighborhoods, celebrating a presidential win with people who are literally dragging you outside of your neighborhood. The people who are calling the cops on black people, they're not freaking no Trump supporters, most of them. These are liberals doing this stuff. These are places like Brooklyn. These are places like all the different places like Atlanta and all these different places where a lot of white liberals live. So at the same time, like when I say black people have no friends, I'm saying like when it comes to us organizing, we always looking for somebody else to come grab us and say, hey, come on with us, black people. We got something for you. Instead of us just together on our own, just saying, all right, this is what we're going to do. These are the demands we're making to the mayor. This is what we're doing. So back to the question, how do you hold a politician accountable while they are in office?
If they're not a president, it's one is always going to be your vote because there's no term limits. They can serve as long as people vote for them.
Yep.
So that's number one. Number two is to figure out a way to hit them in their pockets. Like figure out where they're getting their money from. And if you can't appeal to them, then appeal to where they get their money from and see what happens. And typically where they're getting their money from is an entity that specifically deals with consumers.
Do you think that black people should organize their money as well?
From jump. But if we're going to organize our money, what are we going to do with it?
You buy the politicians off, just like the mob does.
I don't.
Just like any other. Like, how do you think? You understand that the LGBT community is less than like 5% of the country.
Well, yeah.
But they get so much done. How do you think that is? It's money. That's all. That's all. Like and that's the thing. Like we support, like Dwayne said, like we don't want to support no black business. How do you build an economy? Well, you got to support your businesses because you can't buy no politicians off if you ain't got no money. If you ain't got no jobs or businesses or infrastructure of your own to funnel your dollars around. Black people's money circulates how many times? Like 3 times, I think. And then like white people's is like 30, 40, 50 times or something crazy like that.
All right. But again, here's the question. Even if we organize our money and we want to put it behind a candidate for whatever it is, no matter what it is, and we want to put it behind a candidate, still, at the end of the day, if this candidate thinks they can get this money from somewhere else,
but
it doesn't really matter. It doesn't.
That goes for anything in this country. Anybody gets some money.
Stuff still gets done for stuff still gets done though.
Like so I feel like what Reggie said, we have to stick to the agenda. If we don't stick to the agenda, nothing's gonna get done. We keep saying how we hold them accountable for it. We just got to stick to the agenda. If we get complacent and thinking everything's gonna be all right, then next thing you know, we up here complaining, but we didn't stick to the agenda. We fell off and got complacent thinking everything's supposed to happen. Think about it. As a politician, they got everybody pulling them from left, right, front, back, all over the place.
And what talks though?
You know what I'm saying? So they got everybody pulling from them.
Who did they listen to first?
Yeah, we say that.
What people they listen to first? They got all these people pulling at them.
Because I get what you're saying, but I'm at the same time, I don't know that that's 100% accurate, and here's what I mean by that. When you say the money, I see what you mean. However, we know that there are a bunch of politicians in D.C. that get money from super PACs every damn election. True. And we also know, to be honest, really, if you look at it on the totality, really the last probably 8 to 12 years, ain't a whole lot got done. You know why? Because the White House is one way and Congress is the other way. Mm-hmm. The Senate is one side and the House is another way. So things stop.
Educate me in regards to the super PAC because I've heard of it.
Super PACs or big donor organizations that put money in candidates' pockets when they're running. Super PACs, the NRA type groups,
and they're legal.
All of these groups all of these groups that put large amounts of money behind candidates. Dude, my point is, we talk all the time about how nothing gets done in D.C. Right? I think it's better at the local level. That's why I really push people to vote at their local levels because you have a little bit more push. And those candidates, generally, you can, for lack of a better term, you can get your hand near them and get in front of them to really push them to do things.
You can actually talk to them.
You can actually talk to them. But in general, a lot of the big money corporations and super PACs and all of that stuff that put money behind candidates and send them to D.C., they ain't done shit in D.C. in years. And the main reason why, and that's why I always say, the presidential elections are important. I'm not saying they're not. But people also need to understand that their Senate votes and their congressional votes in terms of their House of Representatives and their district votes are very, very important, because those are the people. Because if the White House is Republican and the Senate is Republican and the House is Democrat, guess what's going to happen? Most things that are aligned with Republican values and views and whatever are going to push through. Flip side, if the White House is Democrat and the Senate is Republican and the House is Democrat, chances are you're going to see more things from a Democratic side. And I'm not saying what side somebody needs to be, but chances are you're going to see more of those things get pushed through.
But that's
so the money is a factor, but it is not everything, because at the end of the day, they still get to D.C. with your money and don't do a damn thing.
No, well, I will say this. I say a lot of those large groups that you ask for, they get bent, like regardless of whatever it is they get, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that they get access to, and they get, like an NRA. Like, you telling me the NRA doesn't benefit from putting money in politicians' pockets?
Hold on, but we're talking about two different things, though. We're talking about a candidate and somebody who's in office. Typically, when people are spending money,
It's on candidates.
it's on candidates.
Correct.
It doesn't mean that this motherfucker win.
Ain't nobody getting a check once they in. Now they just getting pushed to do so.
So, like, if you're talking about money and what you're going to do with the money, you don't buy a candidate. You buy an official.
Yes, you buy an official.
You buy an official.
Yes.
But here's the issue.
You can't buy an official. You know why you can't?
Because somebody else done bought him.
Ask Cannon.
No,
Mayor Patrick Cannon.
If you don't think that they're...
Patrick Cannon got bought right to prison.
If you don't think that these people are not being... If you no, seriously, y'all don't think that these people are not taking money to get stuff pushed through?
Let me tell you, everybody been an athlete before.
It's $50 handshake.
You know what I'm saying? Getting money, bro.
I'm not going to say I took money, but we know money been pushed around. So
excuse me.
My thing is, I look at this. We always talking about buying something. My thing is, you could buy that person regardless. They don't mean they're gonna do what you want to do.
Thank you. That's my point.
But at the same time, there is a certain incentive, because if you have multiple people pulling you from different directions, if you need something done, the money, like, this is how world works. If you say, like, all right, well, just because we can't do anything because they're not going to do anything anyway. Then what the hell are y'all doing going in the freaking vote in the first place?
You know what a hustler is?
No, I'm saying I'm not finna buy them.
But you know what a hustler is? You know what a hustler is?
I know what it is. I'm waiting for you to explain it.
What a person that's in the Senate, they could be a hustler too.
Yeah.
Because what? You thank you for giving me that money, but that don't mean I'm gonna do what you want me to do.
And by the way, in the Senate, it's 99 more of them.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's what they're doing.
But you think they buy just one of them?
I look at it like this. I look at it this. We always talk about buying. My thing is, if you don't stay on them about the issue,
yeah, of course, but
you don't stay on them about the issue. You don't keep preaching about the issue when you could pressing about this issue, and then when they don't answer the question, then you got the media saying why this person didn't answer to this situation. Now they got heat on them. Now they got to answer.
But these are all the same thing. It's not. These aren't separate though.
But that's how you get them to stay on them to get them to do what you're supposed to do.
I'm not saying you don't do that either. But that's all part of it. That's all part of it. The money, the beating the drum, everything. Whatever you got to do, threaten them with moving them out of office. All of that.
But here's why we don't buy somebody. Here's why we don't put our money there, because our money already ain't good money. We were already set up to be oppressed. I'm not, in terms of me being someone who will take money in order to do things, I'm only going to take the money that I know that's going to have longevity. If I'm going to do something for somebody, it means that I am afraid of you taking that money away. We do not have that here. There is not in any instance in what you want to put together or whatnot, where if we put our money into it and then we say, oh, nah, you're not going to get this money no more. And then they change their minds. They be like, oh, you know what? My bad. Like, nah, that doesn't happen with us, because it was already set up for us not to be able to do that in the first place.
So I'm kind of confused. So you're saying that because the fact that we're set up to be oppressed, that the money that we have to get the things done that we want to get done, we shouldn't do it because it's not going to get done anyway?
What I'm saying is they're already part of a system where they're trying to basically say, you ain't finna get no money. And then we say, you know what? Let me offer some of this little bit of money I managed to get in a system where you're trying not to allow me to make any money in the first place, and say, well, let me give you some of it so that you can start to do some things for me. From jump, they're already thinking that that money is going to dry up because I'm part of something that's preventing you from making money in the first place.
So what are you? So I'm trying to say. So what are you suggesting? That we just do nothing?
That's no. I'm not suggesting that we do nothing, but I'm saying that we cannot sit here and try to adopt practices that other people have managed to be able to do, because the reason that they're able to do it is because there is some kind of value attached, meaning that if they receive it, that the likelihood of them being good that is gone, that's likely for them. For us, it's not. Like, there already is a lot that we want in this country we're never going to get. I don't care how you put it. If our numbers stay where they are and our projected numbers stay where they are, there are things in this country we will never have just because we do not have the economic support in terms of population to even get behind it. And then at the same time, we also don't have a connection to another body of people or resources or anything like that this country is going to feel like they can't do without. They've already separated us from that.
Can I say this? I know we always say we set up for the suppress and everything. One thing, we got to change our own mindset.
Yep.
Our mindset keeps saying we suppress, we this, we that. Stop thinking the negative and start thinking the positive. Stop moving forward and start trying to pull from the back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We waiting on something, but we keep sitting around waiting on it. We'll never get it. We got to go get it for ourselves. We got to earn it for ourselves. We cannot just keep thinking about the negative. Of course, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. It's just a way of life. It's not going to be.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, of course, the job is to make sure that we stay in this position. My thing is like, all right, where the hell are the solutions? Because like, if you're going to just tell me like, what do we do? Well, there's nothing really to do. Like, what?
But we're always caught up doing the same.
But my thing is,
doing the same thing. We try to.
We haven't done
the same thing that somebody else does and say that we can do that too.
So what would you?
Like, what would you
describe?
We have to do something else.
So you're saying, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing
over and over expecting different
results. Have black people practiced insanity in this country?
Yes.
So obviously, it's time to do some things differently.
But we're not, though. Like, even the stuff we're talking about, like
we haven't done that.
No, even the stuff that we're talking about, like we still talk about doing something different, but most of the time we talk about is doing something that somebody else did.
But it works for them.
No, it works for them because their position in this country was already different from jump. We are the only ones here in the position that we're in for the same for this specific. We are the only ones, and from jump.
But we're still the only people who haven't done what everybody else has done.
No, it hasn't worked. We thought we could do it and didn't realize that the only reason that they were successful at doing that were for these reasons. We already don't possess that, but then they expect this. They expect like, okay, all these other people were able to do this, right? And we allowed them to do this for whatever reasons. They already set it up so that if we try that, we're wasting it, but we're convinced because it worked for somebody else that it's going to work for us. We have to quit thinking traditionally. We have to it's a mindset thing. We start to develop ideas that are based on things that other people were successful doing,
and that we shouldn't base our ideas on stuff that other people were successful doing.
No, not if we're basing it on how they were able to accomplish it. That's not what we're talking about. All we look at is what they did and the fact that they were successful. We didn't look at the reasons that they were actually successful doing it.
So let me tell you this: we try the easy way, and it's not the hard way. Some people had to go the hard way, but you don't see what goes behind closed doors. You don't see the hard work that people had to do certain things. So when we see things, we think it's going to be easy. And when we realize it's easy, we get a little pressure, we back out. So if we don't stick to what we know or what the agenda, we never gonna see the finish line. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of the things. I get what you're saying. Somebody successful over here, and we go try to do the same thing, but the thing is, we don't know what they did behind the closed doors to be successful. Some people might have to be 24 hours, had to stay up 24 hours to work. You know what I'm saying? That's why I feel like we, as black, we need to do better, because we are trying to figure out why are some of the Chinese restaurants or Asian restaurants are so successful. They have their whole family and they're working. We can't even get we can't get family going into work.
Well, they're successful because we buy it.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying that certain things like that, we gotta just, if we want to be successful, we gotta stick it out. We can't have somebody else like we just talked about coming to the restaurant. Hey, can I get a hookup on this and that?
So,
you know what I'm saying?
So here's what I'm talking about. So let's think about it like this. There have been many a decade where we decided that we're going to do this and do that because these people have been able to do it. And these people. So
let's talk about
like,
specifically what were some of those things.
Okay, so we talk about having our own.
Yes.
All the time. We talk about having our own. But every point in history in this country, when we had something that was ours, they destroyed it. And they destroyed it partially because they didn't need it, and they destroyed it. So when we start talking about having something on our own, what we're not talking about is having something that can't be destroyed or can't be taken from us. That's not what we talk about. We talk about having something of our own, and we do the same thing over and over when all they know is that regardless of laws and rules and all this other stuff, if they want to destroy this, they will.
So listen to this. In the 1960s, 40% of blacks had their own business. Today, 7% of blacks have their own business.
How did that happen?
Was it because what happened in the 1960s?
Civil rights movement.
And then what was the cause of the civil rights movement? What happened after that? What happened? What was the end result of the civil rights movement?
Legislation.
What specific legislation was it?
Jim Crow being over, segregation. So you just talking about integration, basically.
Integration. It wasn't integration because it wasn't a partnership that occurred.
No.
It wasn't white people come to us.
No.
It was us going to white people in their businesses.
Exactly.
And abandoning ours. So you can't say, so that's why I said, like, you know, us building our own, like, yeah, there were instances. You have Wilmington, you have Tulsa.
No, all of them.
Yeah, it was, yes, early on. But in the 60s, that was not the case. We gave it away. They didn't take it from us. We gave it away.
But do you see how easy it was for us to do that?
But that's not a fault of, is that a thing of we shouldn't build our own businesses, or is it a thing that we made a mistake, or the people at the time made a mistake because they chased after the wrong thing?
No, it was them giving us what they felt like we could use.
No, we didn't have to abandon our businesses.
We didn't have to give up our business.
We didn't have to give up the Negro Leagues like we talked about.
But you know what? You're right. But they anticipated it.
No,
they anticipated. That's why there was.
But
That's
whose
why there
fault
was.
is that? Our fault?
They did not anticipate it. We gave up that when they offer you something like, prime example, you like to say the Negro Leagues. We still have some black leagues here, but they are real small now. But the Negro Leagues, they bought black athletes in. Black athletes took it. We didn't have to take it. We took it because we thought it was a better opportunity.
Those franchises were big time. Made a lot of money for some black men too.
And businesses, they saw how our businesses run. They were like, how can we get this business too? They offer us this big price. Guess what? We take it.
So that's us. That's on us at that point.
A lot of times we blame the other people, but we got to look back. What did we do for the reason for why we are like this?
The
scariest thing for people to do after they make a mistake is look in the damn mirror.
That was the biggest mistake in black history.
You have to be willing to self-scout and look in the mirror.
That's the truth.
And admit when you make a mistake.
That's the truth.
So, when and how do we break generational conditioning?
That's gonna have to be another episode.
No, but no.
That's a whole episode. But that's a great question.
No,
That's the
but
truth.
That's a great question.
That is why
I can tell you a lot of stuff.
we ain't got time right now.
But that is
things
why
have been broke already.
But that's why
So-
when we feel like every time we've gotten something done, we didn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, they anticipate this shit every time. We're not getting,
But that's not a thing of what they took from us. It's a fact
It's
that we
what
gave
we
it away.
gave it to.
Gave it
we,
away.
ga-
Man.
we handed over.
We handed it over.
You know what I'm saying?
And we keep handing stuff over. To be
Prime
honest.
example.
They don't even have to do it no more. To be honest, because they know what handed over.
Prime example. I'm not gonna put the organization out there, but we know we listen to music through our headphones. Prime example. We know a
Dre.
famous purpose
Beats
that
by Dre.
he sold.
He's a public figure. It's all
but
good.
I'm just saying he sold. It was something ran by a black, and he sold it for a billion. What? Some in the millions of billions.
a lot of
dollars.
money, man.
A lot of money. So guess what? His name is still on it, but he sold it because we like, hey.
I'm not saying
that's saying that
and it's not
money-
a bad thing.
it's
It may
a-
not be a bad thing for him to sell it. Maybe that was good for him. Maybe he needed to get on and get to some other ventures. But
I mean, that's the name.
hey,
of
it is what it is. But in art, I'm talking about specifically when it comes to
How do we hold? Do we ever
hold it
hold
long,
on to it?
long enough to even be able to leverage it? You know what I'm saying? So
Well, why won't we sell it to someone that looks
look
just
like
me?
us. Shoot, man. But nah, we gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go.
I'm gonna say who gonna
We about to go down a rabbit hole.
I got stuff to do,
who black is gonna buy it?
bro.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
No. I'm
You
just
never
talking
know.
about that's liquid enough to even make it happen.
But see, I'm
talking about status.
I know we got to go, but one thing we have an issue is we buy something from another person. We worried about, oh, their name is still on it because we want our name on it. We want to take over. Man, make the money. I don't care if his name is still on the product,
Yeah.
but if I'm still making the money, guess what? I'm still selling the product with his name on it. So what?
That's called venture capitalism. I mean, that's what venture capitalists do all the time.
Aunt Jemima.
They'll put a little bit of money behind something
Uncle
and let
Ben.
everybody's face be on it and get them checks.
That's-
And then they take some of that money and put it behind something else and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, man.
Like, crazy as it seems, I'm about to do this as we roll out of here. If you really want to know who's doing some stuff like that, go look up and Google that man Chameleonaire. I'm gonna leave you with
Yeah,
that.
Chameleonaire is a
Tech.
big time venture capitalist. So yeah, man. So now this is dope. Now I appreciate y'all being on. Make sure y'all people on here subscribe to the Spotify channel. We do got a website coming. Make sure you follow us on social media as well at Cavalier Convos. And till next time, love, peace, black family, black first.
Peace out.
One.